Survivor's ready. Go!
Travis spoken.
Boston Rob and Amber are gonna do it.
This is a business trip, as I like to say.
You, Brad Culpepper.
I'm tired of you and the fucking chicken.
You can call me the puppet master. They can be my little puppets.
It's not like you're making me deal with the devil here.
You get to milk your own milk, I guess.
Who the hell voted for me?
Chicken.
We got enough rocks here, too. We could build a pretty decent shelter just using rocks.
I'm supposed to talk Latin to you. You understand that better?
Direct from Hobart, it's time for the only Survivor podcast in Australia dedicated to Survivor, bringing you all the latest interviews, episodes, and opinions from the greatest reality show on the planet. It's Survivor Oz, and here's your host, Ben Waterworth.
It is Survivor Oz, Australia's #1 TV and film podcast, as we come to you once again for an episode recap of the 30th season of Survivor Worlds Apart, the penultimate episode recap for the penultimate episode, as we get ever closer to finding out who the winner is of the 30th season. And we also are getting ever closer to finding out who is going to be on the cast for season 31. It has been on the lips and minds of all Survivor fans in the last week and a bit, and joining us to recap this week's episode and talk about her chances of making it back on Survivor Second Chance, it is a pleasure to welcome back from Survivor Cagayan, the one, the only, Miss Kass McQuillen. Kass, welcome back to Survivor Oz.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you back, Kass. This is great because you still hold the record for our longest ever interview in the history of this show. So we know you always have a lot to say. So we're glad to have you back here today.
Oh dear. Well, I'm pretty sure you guys are tired of listening to all these potential second chancers. So we'll try to keep it short tonight, huh?
Yeah, well, let's do it in 5 minutes. Episode good, yes. You want to come back? Awesome. Is that all we need to cover?
Yeah, my answer is yes.
Beautiful. Kass McQuillen, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back next time on Survivor Oz. But in all seriousness, it's great to have you back because obviously for you at the moment, things are a little bit hectic. Things are a little bit busy because you've got a bit of a campaign going on right now, Kass.
I do. I've never considered myself a politician, so this is new to me. And with all my new social skills I've learned in the past year by reading all the self-help books, I think I'm handling it okay.
Have the Vote One Kass placards gone around the neighbourhood, have they? And all the ads on TV, handing out the badges, things like that?
Yeah, you know me. I'm obviously great at pandering.
I thought so. And I could imagine, like, if you're, out there doing your lawyer thing in the middle of any sort of trial, you're like, oh, excuse me, Your Honour, Vote One Kass.
Yeah. No, I'm keeping it quiet locally, so...
Good. Well, maybe good. I'm not too sure, actually. But, I mean, it's gone by quickly, this whole campaigning. But you guys only had, like, 2 weeks to do it. But this time in a week, Kass, there's every chance you could be out there filming season 31. Is it getting a little bit nerve-wracking?
I'm pretty relaxed. I mean, it's only been a year since our show was on and almost 2 years since I filmed that show. So it's still... pretty fresh. And I'm such a fan. It's exciting to contemplate meeting some of these people and playing with them.
When did you get the call, incidentally? I mean, was it quite quick after your season had wrapped and you've obviously had to keep this secret for quite some time?
No, I think they contacted everyone after our season for a Blood versus Water, and I said no to that. And then I think it was January. Mm-hmm. They contacted me and said, would you be interested in playing again? And I said, I don't know if I can be free this summer because I've actually rebuilt my law firm and have things going on. And then I said, don't count me out, but, try to get me information. And then they didn't call me for a couple months. So I didn't start putting anything on the back burner. And then it was all, pretty fast and furious of when you can get to Los Angeles and can you be available these dates. So... I've been working very hard to clear my schedule.
Because I think, you mentioned to us, I think, when we had your interview with you, that you sort of might not make a it was something that you had to think about, I think you said. So, I guess kind of you've organised things and you've managed to work it all out, and was then at a pretty easy decision to try and have another crack at it?
Yeah, I'm still not sure, how can you say no when they call, right?
Yeah.
But with someone like me, I did pretty well my first time out, and I did almost everything that you want to have on your Survivor resume except win. So there's a lot more on the line for me, in my opinion, that I'll go out and do worse, because anything less than a win would be worse, in my opinion. And I don't like to perform poorly. So that's a big anxiety I have. If I went out pre-merge or something, it would really suck.
Yeah.
So when you contemplate going back, and especially in this pool, which has a lot of good players in it, what are the odds you can win and even get to third again? So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited, but I'm kind of hesitant. But I've also been very focused, and I've been in court up until yesterday, clearing my schedule and asking for favors and doing things. So it's been very hard to focus entirely on campaigning and going. And now it feels like, my God, on Tuesday I'm going to be in Los Angeles, and potentially Wednesday, be on lockdown and headed somewhere.
Yeah, it's fascinating to think how close it is. How have you found the campaigning, sort of the times you've been able to do it, and also all the fan reaction to, the potential that you will be out there again?
Well, it's interesting because I was very hated during my season. Mm-hmm. I mean, publicly on social media, a lot of people were very vocal about their hatred for me. And, since my season aired, I've done a lot of podcasts and interviews and participated in some social media groups and activities, just staying in touch with fans. And I think I've kind of won them over. Reddit, which is this big board here in the U.S., was in love with Spencer and hated me. And now I'm like their top pick. So, it's all in how you handle it when people are very rude to you and stuff. And I think not being rude back to them has helped, and just having a sense of humor about the experience, which is something maybe Dan can embrace at some point.
So maybe second chances too in a few years. Dan might be, loved by the fan community.
Yeah. I mean, I think you'd have to work on it. You have to accept when you're a villain,
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, I mean it's fun that people now appreciate my gameplay or my place on the show. That was Cagayan, which was a good season, and if you take me out of the equation, love me or hate me, the season's not as good, right? I mean, in terms of shaking things up and making moves and giving them favorites and people to root for and people to root against. I mean, that's what makes a great season, is when you have people that make you yell at your TV. Mm-hmm. And make you feel something when you watch the show.
Yeah.
So whether it's love or hate, is if a character on TV can evoke something in you that you want to go on a message board and say, I hate that person, they've done their job, really.
Yep.
So I just had to accept that my job was to be hated. And once I accepted that and started to make fun of myself for it, it got a lot easier to process the whole experience.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's something we talked a lot about, I remember, last season during San Juan del Sur, was that there wasn't really somebody that season I felt that people hated. Like, I mean, you had John Rocker, but he was out very early. But I think a lot of people, when we were trying to work out why so many of the fans weren't liking last season, I mean, one of the aspects we came up with, there wasn't really a villain. Whereas at least in your season, exactly as you were saying, like, there were so many people anti-Kass, and even anti-Tony, and it was like, that had that going for it, and all those elements that, add up to a really good season.
Yeah, I mean, I think our cast just had that right mix of characters and personalities, where we weren't mean to each other necessarily. I mean, I personally think a lot of people were mean to me, but I took it differently than other people do. So, yeah, I think something happened. Magic happened in Cagayan. It was a great season and a great cast, and no one can take anything away from any member of that cast. Everyone played their role.
Yeah, agree.
So,
and there's 4 of you potentially about to come back already for a second chance. It just goes to show that how well received and how well liked your cast was.
Yeah, and a couple others of us. I mean, I saw Jatia and Cliff were in LA when I was in LA. So they were even potentially on the list and cut.
Yeah, they had that initial list of 40, and I remember seeing both Cliff and Jatia. Would have been interesting. We were talking about this with Tash. Like, if Jatia was on that, 4 of the 6 brains, the Luzons, would have been potentially coming back to return, Kass.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane that 4 out of 6 people on a tribe would ever be invited back.
Poor Garrett and David.
Well, I've spoken to David. He would never go on again.
Okay. But Garrett's in the corner.
He does. Garrett's still stewing.
Yes. He's still stewing over it. I mean, it's interesting actually with it because I guess a lot of people, you go into the game, and obviously it's different when you're out there, different situations with the people that you're there with. But it's automatically, I guess, perceived that if you, Spencer, and Tasha all end up there, that there's that automatic connection. But I mean, again, I was talking to Tasha the other day. You three didn't necessarily work together the whole time. You guys weren't exactly in alliances the whole time throughout Cagayan. So it's going to be, I suppose, an interesting occasion if that happens, to try and make people see that just because we were on a tribe together doesn't mean we're automatically going to connect again.
Yeah, I mean, I think the likelihood of Spencer and Tasha working together, if they're on the same tribe, is very high. They've been social, since the game, visited each other. I didn't get any Christmas cards from either of them, and I think anyone returning, if you're returning with someone who bested you in the game, the way people carry this game with them is there's a certain resentment about that. Not only have they been beaten, they may have been fooled or misled by you, and on public, on TV. So it's a huge thing for someone with an ego to go through, and most people who go on Survivor are very egotistical. So personally, I would not feel comfortable with Tasha or Spencer because I know they kind of have it in for me, especially with the rivalry that played up between Spencer and I. We kid on social media, but he's a 22-year-old man, and I think it would be impossible for someone to get over it,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be very impressed if he could, but I don't expect that of him, even though we're cordial to each other. I just don't see someone this soon after our season aired. I mean, it was just a year ago, this week that, he was watching me beat him in a puzzle and send him home. So when you put it all in perspective and try to think about what's going on in their heads, I would hope people would look at the whole situation that was the Brains tribe and see that we were never always on the same page, and everyone told lies to everyone. And everyone had different alliances than the three of us together.
Yeah.
So there was never a point where all three of us were really, hey, let's all three of us get together and stay till the end.
Yeah.
And I think, so, yeah. And then the fact that both of them really despised me after the season, it kind of helps me separate from them. And I personally don't want to be on a tribe with either of them. I don't want to be associated with my past season. I want to go out and play a new game.
That's it, and I suppose it's kind of like those early days where it will really see how that all plays out. Because I mean, if you look at other seasons that are all coming back, I mean, Worlds Apart, what we here obviously talk about as well, Kass. I mean, there's 5 people up for Worlds Apart. Realistically, one of them might drop off if Michael Carolyn wins, but I mean, there's another way of looking, and then also like I suppose we all know how close the Worlds Apart cast has become after their season. So I guess it's an interesting perspective that people will do these things on day 1, day 2, because surely the likelihood of yourself ending up on a tribe with Tash or Spencer or Wu or the Worlds Apart people working together as well on a certain tribe, I mean, it's very high that you'll end up on a tribe together. So it's just going to make for a very fascinating day 1. I can see filming for season 31.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing because everyone knows who's in the pool, and certainly with social media, everyone can contact each other. So, yeah, I mean, I think everyone's losing sleep right now over who's talking to who potentially, and are these rumors of pregame alliances real? And you kind of have to just separate yourself and remember that, the game, we don't need to start playing it. We don't even know who the players are.
Yeah.
And some of the people that I personally think are doing the most of this pregame stuff might not even be on it.
Yeah.
So,
it's fascinating to look at it, and I mean, sort of, I'm aware of things that have happened, and other people obviously out there are. And one thing that I think is interesting too is the campaigning, because look, we've obviously reached out to all 32 people to come on the show. We've had, I think, over half of you guys on here campaigning, but some people are only doing, say, Rob Has a Podcast, for example. That's the only show that they're willing to do. There are some people that aren't campaigning at all. So, I mean, does that come down to they're that confident that they're going to be on it? Do they think they don't have a chance? Why, are they only doing the number 1 rated podcast because that gets them out most listeners and they don't need to do others? It's been interesting, I think, the communications I've had with these people and the reasons they've said to me, no, I don't want to, do an episode, or they just haven't responded. So this whole game and things that's happening beforehand, Kass, it's so interesting to analyse.
Yeah. Well, I've said yes to everyone that, I can accommodate. I've been very busy. My family and I had a big travel month in March. And, it's hard to work around it, especially, me being married and having a daughter, and it's school and all of that is going on right now. So, but I've said yes to everyone and tried to answer, you never know what fan might know someone and retweet you or whatever. And plus the fans are what make the show. They're the reason we're getting a second chance, is that the show has been on for so long. And that's not because of any one contestant being great. It's because of the fans.
Exactly.
So, I don't feel this is a time to shun the fans, of whether it's someone who has 10 listeners and it's mostly, their grandma and their aunts and uncles. If it makes their day and that's something you can do for them, great, do it. If you can work it into your schedule, give someone 30 minutes of your day. It's not much.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I mean, it's just it's an interesting sort of perspective. But I mean, Kass, you were always scheduled to come on this week. I've actually said that a lot, actually, and it's true because
yes.
I mean, we organise these weekly recappers generally at the start of the season, and we sort of discussed you coming on again to do this. So you were always locked in for about this week anyway, Kass. And coincidentally, hang on, you might be coming back again. So it's worked out well.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was actually scheduled almost. Like you and Rob and then the D&D guys had all contacted me before this season started and before, anything about this second chances was even in the works. And I said yes to everyone. I wanted to take that year off and get through a season. I think it takes a season after yours airs to kind of get over it emotionally and realize, you're not that big a deal. And Survivor is much bigger than you as a contestant. So to just have a fair analysis of a recap, I wanted to give it that time. And so I was game for it this year. And, it just happens that everything got pushed till the end here with us.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I mean, I would have come on. If I had recapped earlier in the season, I would have come on and talked to you about second chances if you had asked. So,
of course we would have asked, Kass. Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, and these people who are saying no, I'm seeing a lot of it on Twitter right now where the fans are actually getting upset that certain people aren't going on the podcast because it's kind of disrespectful, or they're taking it that way and they're kind of saying, well, if you haven't done this podcast by now, I'm not voting for you anymore. Whether that will affect that candidate's potential, you never know.
Yeah, it's interesting because the goal of our show is to obviously interview everybody in the history of Survivor, and we've managed to. There's 6 of the guys on the second chance season we'd never had on the show before, so we've been lucky to do that. But I mean, I'm not one to name names of people who have kind of said no, or they've given me reasons why, because I don't want to cause a stir and all that sort of stuff. But I've found it fascinating with a couple of the people who have kind of politely declined to come on the show, who have then gone on to do Rob's show. Their reasonings behind it, because I can see their perspective. If they hadn't have done Rob's podcast and hadn't done any interviews in general, it would have made sense. But as you kind of said, if I was the type of person who then started posting out names, this person said no, yet they're on this show, what a bastard, don't vote for them, that sort of stuff, I could. But I don't know, it's kind of from a behind the scenes aspect as a podcast host, dealing with people and seeing the reasons why. It's just weird to analyse why they would refuse to do something that, as you said, could lead to extra votes and could end them getting up on the show.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that one vote.
Yeah.
You never know. And I know there's people saying, oh, it doesn't matter, the vote. I think the vote does matter. I think it's an indicator to CBS of who the fans want back. So, yeah, and what more do you have to do? What are you doing? Getting your hair done? I mean, you know, and I'm kind of friends with the reporter from People magazine who covers Survivor. And he had asked me, I don't know, a week ago to answer, I think it was 3 questions. So I answered them. And then that article came out yesterday, I believe. And he sent me an email today and said, great news, 1.4 million people read that article online.
Wow.
So, and then he said, what's weird is there were only 10 women in the article. So I had said, hey, thanks for featuring me. And he said, no, only 10 women responded. He said, I contacted all 16 women.
Wow.
And only 10 conveniently responded. And then he said, not all the men were responding either. And you know, he kind of asked my opinion on that. And I said, well, I think some people think they're locks. And I don't think some people understand how big People magazine, it's a very big magazine in the U.S. And, you know, just having your name and your picture out there and a link to vote for you, it is a huge thing. If 1.4 million people
that is a lot.
Look at it.
Exactly.
If just 5% of those people follow the link and vote for the 10 women on there, that's a huge amount of votes.
Yeah.
So I was pretty surprised that people were saying no.
It's exactly, and like I've seen a few of these sort of exit polls that now some of these websites are doing, and sort of like getting a gauge, and they've kind of analysed it together and to say like if these polls were to go on, who are the ones who are looking good, who are the ones who are in the middle, and who are the ones who need to step up their game. And to be honest with you, there were some people in the locks that they're saying like on all 3 exit polls, these people all polled very well, and there are a couple in there that really surprised me, and they were people that were really heavily campaigning. Like they've done every single podcast that people have come out and asked them to. You know, they're doing the Rob Has a Podcast and all these big ones, and they're doing like podcasts that have just started up recently. Like they're really campaigning, and yet some of these people who are, you know, quote unquote locks are only doing like Rob Has a Podcast, and there's a couple that haven't done any. So yeah, it's just strange. I just, from my perspective, I would assume everybody would just say yes to everything that's thrown their way if they have the time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to me. And then, but, you know, who knows what people are comfortable saying. Maybe people don't want to give away their game, or
that's what we've got a lot of that. We've got a lot of that as sort of an excuse, and I understand that. But when they then go and do another podcast after having said that, it's like, well, okay, then what's your agenda? So anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'm being open. I have no game plan, just like last time. I believe it's a game you have to play day by day. And I think it's hilarious that people are trying to plan and plot right now when...
Yeah, the game is afoot, as a great man. I keep saying that. I just need to get Tarzan love out there, Kass. I'm still sad that Tarzan didn't make this list, to be honest. So.
Oh my god, I can't even imagine if I had to live with Tarzan for 39 days.
Oh, that would be the best alliance ever, Kass and Tarzan.
Oh my gosh, it would. You know, I'm looking to be tested here, and I'm sure I will be tested if I make it on the season. But Tarzan, wow, yeah, what a guy.
Yes. I think a lot of people have been saying like you and Shane would be an interesting combination if you both get on.
Well, you know, I saw Shane when I went to LA for the casting, and I was downstairs at the hotel, and I saw him walking outside with a cigarette behind his ear, and all I thought was, oh my gosh, he's going to have the same problems as before.
Yes. I've heard that. I've heard that he's doing that again. Like he's literally going to go cold turkey again, you know, day one. So
I'm interested. I haven't rewatched his season, but I do remember him being, you know, an interesting character, and I remember he brought his son to the family visit, who was, you know, I don't know, a teenager. So it'd be interesting to see that whole thing evolve.
Yeah, very much so. Now, I guess in terms of this season, Kass, we're obviously here to recap this season as well. I mean, have you enjoyed season 30 kind of throughout everything that's happened along the way so far?
You know, for a long time, I wasn't really rooting for anyone. And I get this. I always gauge a season when I'm at the elementary school picking up my daughter. There's a lot of Survivor fans there, and they feel the need to give me their opinions. And they are the epitome of casual viewers. And a lot of them have complained to me about this season not having anyone who's likable. and that, ever since Joe left, they just don't care. And some people aren't even watching. At this point, they don't care. Personally, I think this season it's kind of gimmicky. It's almost more a reality show than Survivor, which Survivor I always considered like a game show or a competition. And I feel like we've had a lot of those kind of, reality show moments of discourse and fighting and pettiness. And then also the fan tardiness of some of the super fans out there, paying homage to past survivors and throwing in references. So I can see why Jeff enjoyed this cast, because they're fueling his ego by praising, the past, honoring past contestants and everything. But I think there's just too much arguing and coming from me of all people, it's just not a happy vibe, despite their Dirty 30 happiness post game. In the game, so no one seems to like each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're all scowling all the time. The girls, when they went surfing, that was nice. When Haley and Jen were kind of having their kind of college girl fun. But since then, we just haven't seen people actually having fun with the game. So that strikes me as weird. I'm loving Mike right now. He was pregame one of my picks, especially after the first episode. And just from the photos pregame that came out, because he seemed very relaxed in all the pictures, and they always had him with his hands on other people's shoulders and being very collegial with everyone. And then after that first episode, when he ate that scorpion and said something to the effect that, that's how he is. He just goes all in and that's how he's going to play the game. I thought that was really big foreshadowing, because now I pay attention to the edit. Now that I've played, I'm really kind of watching what is the editor trying to tell me by showing me this little snippet. Are they trying to tell me he's an idiot who eats a scorpion? Well, if that were the case, they would have just shown him throwing up, But they showed him saying with a separate confessional, that's just who I am. I go all in. I'm here and I'm going to eat a scorpion. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm not stopping. That kind of confessional to me shows this is a guy who's going to go far and potentially do whatever it takes to win. And now we see him on the eve of the finale having to do whatever it takes to win. So I didn't like him in certain episodes, but he's kind of grown on me again. At the beginning, I liked him, then I kind of didn't like him, and now I'm kind of liking him again. Same thing with Carolyn. She had a great first episode, and then she disappeared into, that kind of resting bitch face mode the whole time. And now she's emerged with a great idol play and a really strong episode, in my opinion.
Yeah, longest. I read the record, and we talked about it in our autopsy, but she holds a record now for the longest time from getting an idol to playing the idol, because she found it on day 1, I think it was, and what are we up to, day 35 now? So, that's basically a month with having an idol, and pretty much only one person, I think, the whole time knew that she had it, in Tyler, who went the week before.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I mean, I think the fact that she could keep that a secret. And the fact that she had Tyler keep that secret for her, because Tyler was a bit of a squealer, right? It speaks to her level of control and self-control in the game, to me. Because you're out there alone and you've got this big secret. Not that I would ever have had an idol, but I can't imagine keeping that secret. Yeah. So, and most people don't.
Yeah, you always see it. You always see people saying, I'm going to keep this a secret. And I think really, Gary, I think technically in Guatemala did, but that was kind of the first time we'd ever seen it. And I think Tyson on Blood vs. Water did for the most part, but I think it emerged after the game that Jervis did know about it. It was just never aired. But it's something that you always see people say they're going to keep it a secret, and for the most part, they never do.
Yeah, or they put it on at Tribal and don't use it. I loved her play because she just shocked. It was a great blindside of Dan and of everyone, really, sitting there. So, I really appreciated Carolyn this episode, and I really liked her in the first episode. I don't know what happened in between there where we didn't see much of her. But, yeah, she's having a little surge right now, which is good, going into a finale.
Do you see kind of her working with Mike? I mean, she's really keeping a lot of her options open there, and given now that she's played this idol, she's no doubt going to piss Rodney and Will and Sierra off a little bit with that play, and now she's probably going to maybe only have Mike on side at this point. I mean, do you see her, the way she was dealing with Mike and working with him as a really clever strategic play, and that she's really in maybe the best position right now to win this game?
I don't know that she's in the best position, because if she goes to the end with Mike, she's going to lose, because everyone on the jury is going to vote for Mike currently, right? Mm-hmm. Hallie, Jen, Joe will go with whatever the girls go with. Shireen would vote for Mike, and I think Tyler would as well, because Tyler was not happy with Mama C there.
Yeah.
So he's already got 5 votes. So is it smart to align with the guy that is going to win the game? Hands down, if you're looking at it, or does she think she possibly has Shireen and Tyler's vote, and maybe Joe or Hallie's vote as well? Because, when she played the idol, she looked over at the jury and kind of smiled like, look at me. And I didn't catch the jury's reaction, but that would have been very telling. Because sometimes you look over like, hey, look at me, I got immunity. And they look at you like, you suck. So I don't know how to read the jury as to her. But aligning with Mike, I mean, if she intends to go to the end with him, I don't think she can beat him. And I would think she would know that, but you never know.
Do you think kind of how it's going to be telling how Rodney and all that react, I guess, next week? And we saw a little bit of it, that they weren't too happy with the idol. But how are you going to see how would you play this at this point, Kass? Put yourself in Carolyn's shoes. You've just played the idol. You haven't told anybody that you've had it, and you've sort of ticked off a few of your alliance members going into it. I mean, is it just a case of, being cool, calm, collected to steal from Rodney and just play it off? Do you get aggressive? And, I mean, how do you handle it at this point?
Well, you know me, I would yell at everyone.
You would yell at everyone, yes.
Well, I was not known for yelling at people. I would just smirk at them, right? Until they spoke llama. But with Rodney's already mad at her. She knows she doesn't have Rodney's vote. She didn't take him on a reward on his birthday. She didn't take him on a reward this week. Rodney's a big baby. Maybe she's thinking she's taking Rodney to the end. And just going to tolerate him for the next 3 or 4 days. And then you have to remember everyone else, Sierra, Will, and Rodney, all voted against her. So how can, what right do they have to be upset with her for playing an idol?
Yeah.
But this is where it gets tricky. It's kind of like when I flipped on Sarah. They didn't tell me, nobody solidified my alliance with me, and everyone had sub-alliances. And then when I ruined their plans that didn't include me, they got really mad at me. So Carolyn, even though she protected herself, these people are going to be mad because they wanted her out. And they're going to feel all self-righteous, like, how dare you ruin our plans to get you out? And this is where I think Mama C can't win this game, because, well, they showed, I think, in the preview, people being mad and yelling at her about the idol, and her kind of yelling back, saying, well, you voted for me. And people don't see it that way when you're out there. They see it as their game only. And when you're the one who ruins their game, they're just going to be mad at you. And they're not going to adapt, and they're not going to take the time to say, on the way back from Tribal, say, wait a minute, let me put myself in Carolyn's shoes. Why did she do this? They're just pissed because they thought they were going to be the ones to get rid of her, and she outsmarted them. I saw this happen with me. So she's going to have a lot of backlash, and it's going to force her to work with Mike. Just from my experience, when I flipped and no one would speak to me except for yelling at me and cussing at me, and I think Carolyn's going to get a little taste of that. And it's really not her fault. I mean, she did the best play that she could for herself. She saved herself. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to watch that fallout, but certainly they're going to all feel like Jeff said, entitled a little, like he called Rodney out on that. They're going to feel entitled to being able to get Carolyn out without a second thought.
Yeah.
To her gameplay. And that's what happens at this stage of the game. There's so few players left, and everyone's thinking of themselves, like, how can I get me here? Who can I beat? And you forget to think about who might be doing what. Who might be making what move or is capable of something. And often it's the older woman who's discounted. And that's exactly what happened with Carolyn.
Do you feel that Carolyn and Mike can sway Will or Sierra? I'm going to assume they're not going to be able to sway Rodney. But do you feel they could sway Will or Sierra over to their side to perhaps go after Rodney now at the final 5?
If it were me, I'd go for Will, because we've seen Will flip and flop, right? Mm-hmm. Literally.
And not know who he's voting for half the time.
Right. But we've actually also seen him flip and flop down a slide in seal form.
Wilhelm scream forming as he falls down.
Oh my God. That was so great. My God. I was laughing so hard.
Yes.
So we've seen Will as the most flippy floppy of them left. Sierra, I don't know what's going on with Sierra. I can't get a read on.
I forget she's even in the game half the time, Kass.
I kid you not. The other night, not this week, but the week before, we were watching, and my husband was like, "Who's that blonde girl?" He was convinced he had not seen her out there before, and I was like, "No, she's been there." He did not believe she was part of the show. Mm-hmm. He's like, "I thought she went home thinking she was Jen." And I was like, no, this is a different one. He's like, "No, there weren't 2 blonde girls." I said, yes, there were. And he misses an episode here and there anyway. So, but it was so funny when he said that, because I was thinking, well, this is probably what most casual fans across America are thinking tonight anyway.
Yep.
So, I don't know what Sierra's doing out there. We have not gotten any insight to her gameplay. She's obviously not tight with Carolyn because she voted against her.
Yeah.
And she didn't warn her. So she feels she's in with Rodney and Will. So who's most likely of those 3, Rodney, Will, and Sierra, to flip over to Mike and Carolyn? And what's going to happen is, if Mike wins immunity, I think that's his only way to stay in. Even Carolyn would get rid of him, I would think, because she got rid of Tyler. She's smart. She's playing to win. So if he wins immunity, or if he has an idol, if he finds one, there's still one more idol play available at 5. So I would love to see Mike win immunity and go on kind of this end game immunity run. If he gets an idol right now, I'm going to be so disappointed. It would be just timing, that he needs it and he's getting one.
I put my predictions that Mike is going to be like the Aussie or Malcolm, and that he's going to go just before final tribal. He's going to be the Kass.
Yeah, he's going to go at 4.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of I can see Mama C winning if Mike's out, and if she goes with Will and Sierra. I'm not sure she can beat Rodney.
Really? Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I watch the Ponderosa stuff. Do you watch the Ponderosa videos?
I catch them when I can. I haven't sort of kept up a lot this season.
Well, the interesting thing at Ponderosa is everyone likes Rodney. Okay. And they've made mention of it. I like Rodney's funny. He's a good guy. And we've seen he's done his impressions, and he's entertaining. He's whiny, but he is who he is. He's just this kind of mama's boy from Boston. And it's kind of like Tony. It's an abrasive kind of you like the person because you understand who they are as a person, and they're not offensive because they're just that way.
I love Rodney. I've been saying this every week. He's probably in my top 10 favourite characters in the history of Survivor. There's something about the guy that I love, and I would be so happy with a Rodney win. But I've kind of only thinking Rodney can win if he's at a final 3 with Sierra and Will. I don't know if he can beat. That's my perspective. I don't know if he can beat Kass, but it's interesting. Carolyn. It's interesting you say that about how everybody seems to like him at Ponderosa, because we maybe don't get to see that too much on our screens.
Yeah, they like him at Ponderosa, and I think everybody just sees him as this cheesy guy. Just like the funny, your funny friend, like your boyfriend's goofy friend.
Yeah.
Like the guy who's at the party, snorting spaghetti up his nose and pulling it out his mouth. That's Rodney. I mean, to me, that's who that guy is, and he's likable. He's just something about him is likable. And he can get away with the comments he makes. So he reminds me a lot of Tony in that aspect where he's kind of offensive to people, but he's not meaning it in a mean way.
Yeah. And he hasn't, like, the thing with Rodney, I remember pre-game, we all were sort of like, oh, you know, he's not going to make it that far. But, I mean, we did see a few episodes from him that he was actually quite strategic, and I think maybe that gets overlooked a little bit with the, as you were saying, the personality that he is.
Yeah, his edit is confusing and then now we're seeing him kind of on a downward arc where he's just saying, I can't even think, Jeff, you know, I'm so hungry, I'm, you know, like on the puzzles, and he's said just a few times that he's just so depleted that his mind is not working. And to me, that's a bad sign. Like, you can't win the game if your mind is not working. Yeah. You cannot go in front of the jury and be like, I don't know what happened. I've been here 10 days and I haven't eaten. And the whininess now with the birthday thing, I think that was just, you know, pounded over our heads. And then shown to be a really poor strategy. Like, they tried to play it off like it was strategy, but I think they were almost mocking him for that.
Yeah.
In that episode.
How would you play? Like, do you feel he was entitled for somebody to give up that reward to him on his birthday, or do you think it, again, as it was sort of explained by Karen, like, this is Survivor, it's my experience, I won the reward, I'm going to go on the reward?
Yeah, I would never give up a reward. I mean, I was in a similar situation to Rodney, except I was not on a winning tribe for the first half of the season. So I was actually, you know, one of the losingest people in Survivor's history in terms of rewards and challenges. And I never asked anyone to give anything up, and I never made anyone feel bad about it. And, you know, man up, Rodney.
Man up, Rodney.
At this point, you've got, you know, 5 days left. Shut your mouth. Everyone is suffering. No one out there is gaining weight on day 35.
Yeah.
You know? But it speaks to his mental fatigue, I think, that he's become so, to a point maybe where he's so hungry and so depleted and weak that he is kind of checked out mentally, possibly.
Yeah. I mean, this week too, we had the what do you call it? The ambassador trip where they go off and do. I mean, you got to do that too, of course, in your season. So, I mean, from your perspective, that's something you don't want to give up because it's obviously such a huge personal experience that you'll never get to experience in your life.
That is a great experience. It's also a reward that you truly get to go check out of the game and be human. You know, the other rewards where you go out on a boat or go out to somewhere and eat together, game is on the whole time. But when you have to go to a school or an orphanage and interact with people, and you get to watch, you know, like we got to watch performances at the school, and it just reminds you that you're a human being. And I didn't expect Carolyn to give up that reward. She's a mother. There's no way a mom would not go to an orphanage to hand stuff out.
Yeah.
Even me, like the worst mom on the planet, right? We still have little tiny hearts inside of us somewhere.
I will correct myself, though. That was last week they did that ambassador one, not this week. This week was the volcano one, I should say, because we, of course, got that lovely little idea for a final three. Mike bringing it up. Carolyn, sort of her answer, like, oh, that's a very interesting idea. And Will's response, you're enemy number one. Why would I do that?
Yeah. Well, Will, 0% chance of winning this game.
Hello, Spencer.
Yeah, exactly.
What's been your... I mean, you obviously mentioned he's sort of flip-flopped a lot. You know, he's had an interesting game and, of course, very controversial with his comments on Shireen a couple of weeks ago. I mean, just your overall vibe on Will on Survivor.
You know what I said? I think in my first recap, which was after everyone went naked. I don't know which episode that was. I said Will would be the Kass of this season. And I think he's probably not as, you know, strategic in making moves. But yeah, what is his role on this season? I think he's the third place in the final three person.
No vote getter.
Yeah, to anyone. I mean, to anyone left, he's third place.
I like Will. I just don't know what I don't even think he knows what he's doing. I mean, he's flipping and flopping, and there are times when, he just doesn't even know who he's voting for. I swear he's going to get, if he ends up on the jury, if he's like 4th or 5th, he's probably going to vote for Kass to win Survivor or something.
Yeah, he's going to vote for Joe.
Yes. He's going to vote for somebody. Like, oh, what? Sorry, I thought everybody else was doing that.
Yeah. It's his... and then they included that whole thing with Shireen for a reason, to make us not like him. Because that kind of, that stuff happens, I think, every season. It happened on my season, where people get personal. And the fact that they chose to show that, it makes me wonder if there's more going on out there that we're not seeing, or if it was worse. Because in my experience, whatever they show on TV was, 1,000 times worse on the island.
Yeah.
So how bad did that get for that to make air?
It's a good point, because I know you obviously brought up a lot of the whole you versus Tia situation, and you and Trish had several things that obviously didn't make it to air. I think even Tasha mentioned to us the other day that she had an incident with Tony, where Tony was very much going off her in a similar fashion to how Will did with Shireen. So, I mean, we didn't see that, but yeah, exactly. Why did we have to see that?
Tony never went off personally on Tasha. Tony made a generalization about women not being able to run the camp. And that really struck Tasha. He never said anything about her home life or not being loved or about her family members. To me, that's the line you don't cross. Mm-hmm. Tony did make some generalizations about women out there, and he made them often. And, that's Tony. And he and Tasha did kind of get into it over that, but not... To me, that's not personal, like saying, nobody loves you.
Yeah.
That's a mean thing to say on, day 30 of a game. And that's right up there for me with Trish telling me my child was retarded and that she should be taken from me. It's like, those are things you just don't go into someone's personal life out there.
Yeah. There's a line that shouldn't be crossed. And I guess, we've talked about this over the last few weeks, and I don't mean to dig all this up again, but the reaction to Will on social media, I think, also crossed a very big line. But I guess, we haven't seen Will apologise for it, so I guess people are still very angry at it, and Shireen's obviously a huge fan favourite, so it's just sort of been a whole interesting situation with all that, particularly on social media after it all happened.
Yeah, and remember on my season, I thought Tony called me a bitch and I was all nutty on TV. Immediately when that aired, I apologized publicly because I honestly thought Tony had said that about me, and he had said it about other people out there, so it was reasonable to believe that. But the first thing I did when that aired was I was embarrassed, and I contacted Tony, and then I publicly also apologized immediately. And it's no big deal. Just go online and say, you know what, I was an ass. I'm sorry. Yeah. And people are going to like you more for that than for sitting around and trying to frame an answer. Same thing with Dan. Having been the villain and having been someone who's been lambasted and given death threats and, everything, the best thing to do is just suck it up and apologize and grow. And then remember that these people they're not anyone that knows you, and not try to argue with them about it.
Yeah. So
I wish I could talk to, Dan and Will and say, look, I know a lot goes on out there, and people get ugly, but you were seen getting ugly, so just be the big person and apologize. Even if you think Shireen did something to you or someone else did something to you, this is your chance to say, you know what, I'm not even going to say someone did something horrible to me and that's justified. Just go and say, I'm sorry, I never should have said that about her family.
Yeah. Be fascinated how it's handled at the reunion, because not that a lot of us are going to be watching the reunion. This reunion's going to be like, I feel sorry for the Worlds Apart cast, because half the time we're not going to give two shits about what they're saying, because we're wanting to know who's on the next season, Kass. But I'll be interested to see how it is dealt with, because I don't think Will is generally that active on social media anyway, so I think he's kind of quite a quiet tweeter and a Facebooker. But yeah, I wonder if it's something that Jeff, he probably will bring up. But Yeah, if he will apologise, because I've heard conflicting stories that he did, because I think Dan posted something saying that Will did apologise, but then of course we saw on screen that he didn't, and then even I think Shirin came out on social media and said, well, Dan said Will did apologise, Will has never apologised, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's all in how they handle it. And when I first saw this Dirty 30 business with them all going to Las Vegas or Los Angeles or any of the lost cities of the U.S., all I was thinking was these people are going to fall apart. Because when you watch your season and you see the edit and you see what's shown and see what other people are saying, it opens wounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Dirty 30, I think, have proven that they're probably not going to be spending holidays together in the future.
Well, that's it. We had Lynn Spielman on just before this season started, and I asked her the question about what her favourite cast and all that was, and she mentioned One World because they were so close, and we all know how close One World cast is. And then she said that this season's cast would probably rival One World for the closest. And we've heard so much how close this cast is, but I've seen a lot of instances on social media of Shirin going off on so many different people and Dan and then Will getting this back. Everyone has been attacking everybody this season on social media, so I think you're right. I don't know how long this Dirty 30 are going to remain close after having watched everything this season.
Yeah, well, they've kind of separated into a couple of camps, the Dirty 30.
Yeah.
So, and that's fine. I don't really socialize with anyone from my season. I did go to Jatia's wedding. And
congratulations, Jatia.
Yeah, great event. I love that girl, as we all know. And Spencer, Tasha, and Bryce were all there.
Brilliant.
So it was a good time.
Fantastic. No, Tony? Tony didn't make it?
Tony was not on the list. David was invited, but he had, he's a baseball guy, and he had some baseball stuff going on, I think, being in the springtime, which is a key time for that sport, I guess. And then Garrett was not invited, the only Brain Tribe member not to be invited.
Poor Garrett. Oh,
I know. I was really looking forward to dancing with him.
I would have watched that video. That would have been fun. Wow.
So, no, it was fun.
Congratulations, Jatia, actually. That's obviously great that she's gotten married. So, good job there, Jatia. Now, I want to ask a question about the advantage. We saw Dan play at this double vote advantage. Do you like this idea for an advantage, Kass? And is it something that you think might make its way back, possibly even on your season when you're out there filming in a couple of weeks?
It's when I saw that advantage, of course, people who pay attention know that that's been batted around for a while. It's not such a big advantage. I mean, to me, I'd rather have a hidden immunity idol or a super idol, which I hate the super idol, but if you're going to throw stuff around, an extra vote in the wrong hands is a horrible thing. And whereas an immunity idol, it's hilarious if someone doesn't play it or, they walk home with it in their pocket. An extra vote just doesn't have that impact. And it has to be really doled out to someone who's going to understand splitting votes and not just throwing an extra vote on someone because you don't like them. I don't think it has the drama, and I don't think it has the visual effect that viewers need. So I kind of look at the show in terms of how the average person would view it that's not, online reading articles and listening to podcasts. And I just think it's confusing to viewers, to the average, the 10 million people who don't obsess over Survivor after 9 p.m. on Wednesday night. And I think people don't even know what it is, really.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, wait, he's got this box. It's got this long note with complicated rules. It's taken how long for people to understand what an idol does? So an extra vote, to me, it's a failed thing. And it was in the hands of the worst person to use it,
Yeah.
And I mean, by no fault of production or anything, but we saw that it wasn't played well, and it didn't come in with a big dramatic effect that would have made it a lasting advantage, in my opinion, from a production standpoint.
Do you feel that, because I think when he played it, that was really the ultimate catalyst that made Carolyn play her idol, but do you feel had he not played it that Carolyn still would have played her idol?
I think so. I think she was pretty nervous, and when you get down, she only had 2 more times to play that idol. So the last thing you want to do is not play your idol at final 6 and go home in 6th place with an idol in your pocket when you only have 2 times to use it.
Yeah.
And she's been doing pretty well in challenges. At this point, the only person who can beat her in a challenge is Mike. And he's not going home anyway, right? Because he's got immunity. So why not play it and just, take the risk, especially when you've got those, you saw with Rodney and Dan in the shelter just laying around. We didn't see Sierra doing anything. I think the best play is to just play your idol.
I love that moment when Carolyn and Sierra are talking and Mike just pops out of nowhere and Sierra's like, oh my God, you scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So what is Sierra doing? I can't figure it out.
Who? Kass? He says
I know.
Sierra? Wasn't she on Token Chains? Or she was also on Blood vs. Water?
Blood versus Water, yeah. She votes against her mom. So there, she's going to vote against Mama Sia again. Yeah. She already did.
Those Sierras on Survivor, they're trouble. When they're on there.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think it was a good play by Mama Sia. I think it was well timed, and I think she had enough hints at Tribal and leading up to Tribal that she should play it. And I'm one of those firm believers that if you have that feeling in your gut that something's going to happen, you better act on it.
Yeah.
And that's how I was able to do the things I did, was just, I had that little spidey sense and I did it before someone did it to me.
And look what happened. And that episode, Kass, we did our top 20 earlier this year. We asked our listeners to vote for the greatest episodes in the history of Survivor. That episode where you flipped, that was voted the greatest episode in the history of Survivor. So congratulations.
Wow, recency bias.
I know, right? That's what people said to us.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, one of my favorite episodes, and I'll probably be made fun of for this, is the season opener for Pearl Islands.
That made the top 10, I think, off memory.
Did it?
Yeah.
I still can remember that whole exciting first episode. So, in fact, I ran in LA at casting. Andrew Savage stepped into my elevator. And it was as if my teenage heartthrob had stepped in. And I was rendered speechless because he looks great. And then I acted like a total dork.
Are you gonna have that on the season? Are there other people on the cast that you're looking at right now you might feel that same way if you meet them?
I was really excited about Kelly Wigglesworth because she's from... When she played Survivor, she lived in Kernville. She was a river guide up here, which is 45 minutes from where I live.
Right.
And she's the only other survivor to hail from my county in California, which is a very rural area. We're not like all actors or anything. So I was pretty excited to see her on there. And I actually tried to contact her because our local weatherman is also a huge fan. And I told him, I said, let me try to get a hold of her, see if we can, plug the Second Chances thing, and she didn't get back to me, so I felt a little disrespected there.
Well, I will say because we love Kelly Wigglesworth, and she lives in Mexico. I don't know if you know that. She actually, because we interviewed her about 3 or 4 years ago, we managed to randomly find her, and she got back to us saying that she lives in Mexico on a random beach. She has no phone line, no connection, she's basically living Survivor, and we managed to work out a way of doing the interview. And when we spoke to her during the week, she said that she still lives in Mexico. She's just come back to America for this at the moment, so she's a very off the grid person, Kelly Wigglesworth. So I'm just excited that she's made this cut at the moment.
I'm excited too, and I've listened to some of her interviews about Second Chances, and I'm fascinated to see how she will fit in with this group that has the Spencers and Stevens and Jim Rices and people, and some of these people are just so hungry for this.
Yeah,
you could hear the desperation.
Yep.
And props to them for loving this game so much and being so passionate about it.
Yeah, definitely agree. Episode 1 of Pearl Islands made it to number 11 on our list. But I mean, it's kind of like I know we talked about it with you in our first interview when Cagayan won Best Season at our Oscars, and our Oscars are just about to open up this week, and I still think Cagayan will make the top 5. It will still make the finals, I feel, of Greatest Season. So we will see, I think, this year. And second year's always, I think, the recency bias goes away a little bit, because it's not so fresh on the minds. But
yeah,
you'll be off filming, Kass. You won't be able to pay attention to the Oscars this year, so...
I'm wearing my Maleficent sweatshirt right now.
Good. I know Alina would be happy to hear that. So,
but no, I think, as a fan, and we all know I'm a fan from the beginning. I think Cagayan will stand up. I haven't ever rewatched my season. I only watched it the one time while it aired, but I think it was a great season. And is it the best ever? No, but I'm super proud as a fan to have been part of such a great season. So,
I rewatched it recently, well, not too long ago, I should say, and it stands up. I think it's better on a second time around. It is a great season. And again, I agree with you. Personally, not my favourite season of all time, but easily in the top 10. So
yeah.
Definitely. Now, I've got some listener questions, Kass, and I've got our final set of ones to go. But I do need to give you the opportunity here. I've been giving all our second chances an opportunity to just speak to the listeners, speak to the voters out there, get on your soapbox and really spruik yourself out there to people voting. And obviously now only a couple of days to go. So, Kass, please, right now, take this opportunity. Why do people need to vote you back onto Season 31?
My middle finger. I'm the only one in the running who was, flipped it.
Yes.
No, I want to go. I mean, if Spencer's going to be out there, you want me out there to just Charlie Brown him all the way, right? I want to go. I'm excited. I mean, I'll probably have a showmance with, like, Andrew Savage. I don't know. Not Shane Powers, don't worry. Actually, everyone my age is probably married. I noticed, I'm married too, actually.
Well, glad you just remembered that, Kass. Good job. Hope your husband listens to this.
He doesn't even know who Sierra is. He's not listening to these things. He's like, when do I have to take you to go to this thing? What day are you coming back? No, I mean, I'm going to be having fun out there, and, I'm not afraid to actually play. I know a lot of people are saying I'm going to make big moves and my personality is such. I'm pretty consistent. I'm consistently sarcastic and snarky, and I'm obviously not afraid to do things. I don't plan to, make big moves. I know that was a big thing in my season. People thought I went out there and was like, I'm going to be Chaos Kass and I'm going to wreak havoc. I actually did what I needed to do to get further in the game. And that's exactly how I'll play again. I would love to play Survivor and actually have people talk to me at the beginning and have an alliance, which is something I never had. I think I'm the only person to get to the final 3 who never had an alliance in a game of Survivor. If you think about it. So what a crazy thing for me to be able to go in and not play from the bottom all the way through. Might I not be such an unlikable person? So, I'm hoping that I can get in and be on a good tribe and maybe win a challenge or 2. These are experiences I haven't had. I haven't had the benefit of playing an easy day of Survivor in my life. So, and I might kind of just be boring. I hate to tell you that, but I'd like to get other people to have their limelight. I've heard a couple interviews where people are actually going on this in hopes of playing Survivor again on an All-Stars or Legends season. That's not my motivation. My motivation is to be done with this and to win. And that's what I'm going to go in and do. And that's the first time I went out, I wanted to win, and that's what I want to do this time.
Yeah, there you go. I think it's interesting you say that some people want to go back out there to come back again. Like, I would assume if you're going out there for a second time, surely you'd got to go in there with a notion to win, not, hey, let's just make this the middle season so I can come back and win the third season. Like, that does make sense to me.
I have heard a couple of interviews that said that, and it shocked me because, personally, I don't want to go back ever again after this. It's it's got to be the close of this chapter of my life. And you know, if you don't like me, you can watch me fail miserably, and maybe Spencer can beat me finally. But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I'm fascinated to be part of this because there's so many people. Because it's public and everybody's out there who's a contender, I know every single person on the list is just thinking, who can I work with? Who can I not work with? Who do I want to get rid of first? Who would help me get rid of this person first? What if I take this person to the end? Based on what? You've never met them.
Yeah.
You've never seen the dynamic. So people doing all this plotting are pretty silly. So, yeah, or maybe I'll be the first one out. I keep reading that on the internet about myself, and that's fine. I can have a lovely vacation in Southeast Asia, and know that I was voted out because I'm a threat. I mean, that would be the only reason people would get rid of me early on. So it's kind of a win-win.
Or, of course, you say you don't want to come back again after this, but when you win this season, Kass, you do want to make it back to an all-winner season, of course, don't you, Kass? Like,
no.
You'll sit on that win, you'll sit on the million, and be like...
I'll sit on my one win, because there's only going to be one winner of all winners, and it's probably going to be Sandra, which I would make happen just to laugh at everyone.
A 3-time winner.
Yeah,
wow.
I would be like, Sandra, I want you to get to the end, and I will tell people to vote for you because it would be freaking hilarious. It would make Jeff's head spin. It would make half the world's head spin. You know, all the people who think they're the greatest winner ever, who've only won once or maybe on their 4th time, it would make them realize that, you know, Sandra, and what the heck, why not give her an extra $1 million?
Why not?
She's a likable lady, and her husband's in the military, and she's, you know, got kids.
Yep. And
so, yeah, I made a deal with my husband when this whole thing was going on that this is it. We need to close the chapter here. We have a real life, and it's been fun, and Survivor's supposed to be a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I'm fortunate to have the opportunity to play it twice, and I'm going to play it, and I'm going to get my closure, and hopefully, you know, win. But yeah, I don't see a need to go back. I don't want to be Boston Rob or Rupert or Ozzy or Malcolm or whoever, you know, coach. You almost become a joke at that point.
Interesting way of looking. You still do podcasts though, Kass. I mean, don't forget us. Like, you know.
I would love to recap. You know, earlier in the season, before the second Chaz thing was going on, I did the Rob Has a Podcast, and I actually sat down and rewatched the episode after I had watched it, which I very rarely do, and I took notes, and I mean, I felt like a real know-it-all on there, you know. So I enjoy the podcasting if I'm not involved, you know, in the season.
Well, you could start your own. Kass Has a Podcast. That's got a good ring to it. You and Tony could get together and host a podcast. Wow.
Tony is not endorsing me for second chances.
Is Tony endorsing anyone? Because Tony's very inactive in the Survivor world since his win.
He has publicly endorsed Spencer and Wu, but not me and Tasha.
So Wu has one person endorsing him then. Okay, that's good.
You know, I actually reached out to Wu yesterday because I did another podcast last night. And, you know, I just said, and I don't know, you know, I don't talk to Wu outside the game, but I sent him a direct message and said, Wu, you need to get on this, man, if you want to do it. Like, I'm not seeing you out campaigning, you know, and he hasn't responded. So.
I have not seen anything from Wu. Like, we've reached out to Wu, and obviously, we reached out to him after your season just for a generic interview, not just for second chances. But I have never spoken to Wu in my life, and I don't know how active. I mean, is he just living off in Wu land? I don't know.
Well, he lives, you know, he's a martial arts instructor and a surfing instructor, so maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting, actually. But, yeah, no, it's going to make... I haven't really seen too much from Tony, and I know I spoke to Tony not too long after we did an interview with him, because we asked him back for a recap, and he sort of mentioned to us that he was just taking some time away from Survivor for a while, and I think the only thing he did miss the Survivor, and Rob Has a Podcast. But, yeah, no, he's obviously taking time back, being with his new baby, and going back to enforcing the law, really, so good on him.
Yeah, he's got, you know, 2 very young children, and then you got to remember with Tony, his wife wasn't a part of any of this. She didn't get to go to the family visit. She didn't get to go to the finale. So I think that's a rough road when it takes your spouse away and your mom or, the parent. So I think maybe he's gotten, and it's a year-long commitment.
Yeah.
And that, I'm seeing these people on this second chances. Like, you look at Andrew Savage, who obviously, I thought he was all cute and everything in his first season. But he's a very successful man, right? He has he's an attorney at Yahoo. So he's in it not for money. He wants to win, is my impression. He's, I guess, bought advertising on the CBS website where you go to vote.
Wow.
I read that he bought a banner ad so that when you go on, and I went on there and it didn't show him.
I didn't know that. Wow. Okay.
I mean, he's my screensaver anyway. So, no, and then like you see these people who want it so bad. T-Bird's got a billboard up in Atlanta, saying, vote T-Bird. You see Jeff Varner out there every day. He's really embracing the llama thing.
Yes. You got a special mention in his videos, so come on.
I know, and you know how excited I was? I was like, Jeff Varner knows who I am. And then, you know what I was thinking? All I was thinking was, if we're on the same tribe, I hope he tells me all about Colby.
Yes.
So, but, yeah, I mean, no, it's cool. It's cool for me to be able to see these people. Kimmy Kappenberg.
Yes.
I totally remember Kimmy. I would love Kimmy to be on this season. I know I don't know that a lot of people know who she is, but if you watch that season, you know who she is.
Absolutely. This is where, we've got to have Kimmy back on. Anybody from, I think, the first 10 seasons that's on this list has to come back.
Yeah, everyone below season 20 I'm voting for. Every ballot. As a fan, I have to do that. And post season 20, I'm voting for people I think I can beat. So, and I assume that's how everyone is. But if you're a fan of the show, you must be voting for the old school people.
Yep, I agree. I agree.
And my personal pick to win it is T-Bird.
Okay, I've heard that a few. I can see that. I could really see T-Bird winning it because I think T-Bird is such an underrated player from Africa. She was great, and I don't think she gets a lot of credit for what she did on that season.
And she's a joy to be around.
Yes.
I'm listening to these podcasts, and she is the true neat lady.
Yep.
She is so fun.
She's a Monica Culpepper. Haven't you ever met a neat lady before?
Well, I don't think T-Bird refers to herself in the third person yet. So maybe that's going to be my goal if I'm out there with her, is to get her to refer to herself as T-Bird.
And sing Annie songs together.
Well, we're big Annie fans, so you never know. I have it on Blu-ray.
I put it to her that because she mentioned about that she might have to come up with a new song for copyright reasons. So I said, let's write a song for T-Bird. You two could write a song together. It could be the Kass T-Bird duet. I'd watch that.
Oh my God. Well, yeah. I mean, I doubt we would end up on the same tribe anyway. But I would love to meet T-Bird. I mean, I've been just listening to her and remembering how much I loved her in Africa, which is not a season I've rewatched. And but when I saw her name on the list, I was like, oh my God, T-Bird, I love her.
Yep.
And just like Jeff Varner and Kelly and Kimmy and Shane and Terry and all these people. PG, PG was in LA, when I was in LA, and we were kind of lined up outside these elevators. And Jatia and Tasha were there, and we were, of course, possibly texting each other after we saw each other. And they both asked me who she was, and I was like, "That's fucking PG Law."
Really?
You guys don't? Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, "You don't know who she is? She's badass."
Wow.
And I think one of them asked me if it was Christina Cha, and I was like, "That's
geez.
PG."
Wow.
Christina's the one with the big boobs. Right?
Yeah, well, yes.
But China is one of my favorite seasons.
Yep.
And I always felt this connection with PG. I used to live in China and teach English there. And when China aired, I was so excited because it had so many cultural references and things in that season. And then we had this woman on the show, which was, she was actually of Chinese descent. And I just remember being so mad at Courtney in that opening sequence when she's just being so disrespectful in the temple there, with the Buddhist monks. And I just remember thinking, man, I hope this girl with the heritage, linked here wins. That would be awesome. And so I was really rooting for her in that season, and she had a rough time of that season. So, but it sounds like she's even more of a firecracker now.
Yeah, great. I love PG. PG's fantastic, and I absolutely love China. China, to me, is like one of these very few seasons where you remember every single cast member, and you'd like every single cast member, I think. I mean, there's very few people from China, I feel, that people would say they didn't like, even the sort of the, quote, invisible people. But, it's a season that is very underrepresented in the returnee aspect. I mean, like we've had Courtney, James, and Amanda, fantastic. But we need more from China.
I think we need more from China, and I mean, what a great winner! What a great season!
Absolutely.
I mean, really, any way you look at that. You know what's interesting? We have this show here in the U.S. called American Ninja Warrior. Do you know what that is?
I think I've heard of it. Yeah, I think I've heard of it.
Where these people, super fit people, go and they compete through these obstacle courses, kind of.
Yep.
And I was watching it. I was up at my in-laws' house recently and watching it, and Frosty was on it.
Was he? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, and he got, I saw him on there, and I said, "Oh my God, that's Frosty from China." And everybody was like, "What?" I said, "He was on Survivor," and then his name popped up, and it said Frosty, and they're like, "Wow, how do you know this?"
Wasn't Ozzy on that as well? Wasn't Ozzy on? I know he was on some random reality show like that, I think, too. I don't know if it was the Ninja one.
No, I think he was on some kind of sex video.
No, it's since Survivor. Yeah, I know that. He was on Playboy TV. But, no, there was another one, because there's a network here that shows it called SBS. I'm pretty sure we had that show. And I think there was randomly an episode of it where Ozzy was on it. It might not be that one. I might be thinking of a different reality show. But, yeah.
The Ninja Warrior one is quite competitive, and Frosty was one of those guys who jumps off buildings or around buildings or something.
The parkour sort of people, yeah.
Yes, and it's that kind of thing with these. It's a really neat show. I mean, we all like to watch it because it's sad. You see people get through the course and then fall in the water or something.
Yeah.
And anyway, but that was recent, and then PG shows up in Second Chances, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of China stuff going on here.
Fantastic. I'm just reading here. Americans, and Ozzy was on it. He qualified, unlike Ozzy, who did not qualify in a previous season.
Okay.
Yeah, however, he had to forfeit his spot in the qualifying round due to an injury during his practice sessions. Okay. So Ozzy was... Yeah, I knew there was something about that season I knew had connection to Survivor. I didn't know about Frosty, but, wow. There you go. Go Frosty. Frosty's great. I love Frosty during that season. Was it Courtney called him his little munchkin or something like that, wasn't it? So,
yeah.
That's it.
I mean, he was cute, and I really liked Frosty. And I mean, that was just a great season.
I love Jean Robert. Was I the only one in the world who loves Jean Robert?
I love him like I love Garrett.
So you dance with him at a wedding then? Okay.
Garrett, Ace Gordon, Jean Robert.
Oh, Ace. Yes, Ace. Why was it Ace on this list?
And Albert now is a poker player.
Albert's great. Yeah, I love Albert. Yeah. No, there's so many people, Kass. So many people could have been on this list. All right, I've got a few listed questions here. Thanks to people who sent these in, and I'll get to our prediction questions now. Zachary Chong is a long-term listener of this show. He loves our show. Thank you, Zachary. He keeps asking us to ask all our guests this one question. We did earlier this year, 5 of us all sat down and ranked every single Survivor contestant to play the game. All 442 of you at the time to celebrate the 30th season. Took us 34 hours, Kass. And your dear friend Noah was involved on the panel. Can I just point that out? And
Noah endorsed me, I think. He said he voted for me.
No, he did. Noah actually told me to say hello to you, and he actually said to mention that as well, that he has been voting for you. So
He's one of the people I've flipped with my new social skills.
You might be pissed off at him, though, when I tell you what I'm about to tell you. Noah, okay. To briefly explain what we did, there were 5 of us. We each took it in turns to put up a different person. And then if, for example, we put you up at, I don't know, number 50, and then we all thought, no, Kass should be higher than that, we can veto it, and the person has to choose it again. If the majority veto it, then you got to choose again. Noah initially put you up, and this was vetoed first go around.
442?
297. But you were, like, all of us vetoed, even I vetoed, saying that's way too low for Kass. So you didn't make it 297. However, your final position, Kass, was 262.
Jesus Christ, I suck.
So Zachary has asked me to ask you, how do you feel about being ranked at number 262?
Well, everyone knows what people think of your rankings and lists.
Yes. Great answer.
So, you know, I'm just going to leave it at that. Like, you guys have the worst opinions on the planet. But I will say this. I'm glad that Noah was wrong, and I at least beat not even half of the people who've ever played Survivor.
Well, you're pretty much on the... Is that the halfway point? So 442, so no. Yeah, just close to it.
I can live with it, though, because you guys are so wrong so often.
Oh, we're getting burnt here today. Good job, Zachary. Thanks for the question. It was funny. One of the other listener questions we got here, RB Ludstrom, he always messages in, and I always get his name wrong. He says, Noah Groves, notably known as the Blaster the Beast who told Master around on his back in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. I don't get that reference, but anyway.
Wow.
Yes. Mad Max reference. I suppose it's relevant. Mad Max, new one's out. He says, Noah Groves says you're a god-awful player. Could you explain to this imbecile the reasoning for voting off Garrett and flipping on your shaky alliance to get rid of Queen Sarah? We'll explain that in our first interview. We don't need to go through that again. But I just love the fact that RB has come out and he's also bagging out Noah. Kass, like, this is the Noah hate section of the episode.
Well, let me just say, I've been reading these self-help books, and getting my emotions in check, Noah. So I would like to say you were 1/3 right on that description. The one word, I'm not, well, I guess 2/3 right, because I am a god and I'm a player.
Good work.
So good on you there, Noah. You're 2/3 right in your description of me.
I will say, on the flip side of that, one of our Ozlets, Julian, absolutely loves you to bits. And he said at that ranking, he wasn't involved in our panel, but he said the fact that she was rated so low, I do not agree with. She was on the bottom of her alliance and did what she needed to go further. Much more credit deserved than number 262. So Julian, our Ozlet, absolutely loves you to bits.
Well, and Julian is a very intelligent person.
Yes.
Unlike Mr. Groves.
Yes, Mr. Groves. There you go. RB has... I love this question. At Jatia's wedding, did they throw rice before, during, after, or all of the above? And why did you guys let her eat rice with you after she dumped out most of it?
Well, at the wedding, the only person who inappropriately brought up Survivor was, of course, Spencer, because it was Jatia's wedding day, not Survivor Day. And it was raining, and the shelter under which she was getting married was leaking. So he posted a picture of that and said, "Shelter by Jatia." Which, when you think about it, yes, we were all on Survivor together, but she was really getting married, to someone who was not involved in Survivor. So it's showing Spencer's great social game. And no rice was thrown, but rice was served.
Ah, right. Okay. Then.
So, yeah. And, of course, we let her eat. You know why I let her eat? I mean, why it was so fun to watch Tasha, blow a gasket when we were eating rice with Jatia, because Tasha was so angry about the rice throwing. And everyone knows I was angry at first, but I'm one of those people, I get angry and then I'm done. but Tasha stewed and stewed over it, and it was so great because when we would eat the rice, she would just stare at Shatia with these angry eyes, like, just nostrils flaring, just like, I want to come kill you while you're eating this rice that I had to retrieve from a fire pit. So I enjoyed eating the rice with that crew because it was hilarious to me.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, RB. Thanks to Zachary and to Julian and to Noah for being alive, apparently.
Brain dead, but yet alive.
Yes, I'm looking forward to our preview episode. We will do a season 31. I'm not saying if, when you're on it, and when we get to Noah to get his thoughts on you. So I will send it to you when we record it, and I will say listen to what Noah says at this time point. So.
Wait, why is Noah voting for me?
I think he wants to see you back on the show for the entertainment factor. You have to ask. Send him a direct message on Facebook. He'll probably shit himself like, oh, what the fuck? And then, okay, I'll answer that question.
I mean, really, if I'm such a terrible player, is like Michaela above me? I don't know the list.
I actually haven't seen his final list. He's very heavily campaigning for Keith. He absolutely loves Keith.
Wow. There's no accounting for taste. No, I like Keith, but really, is Keith a better player than me?
I guarantee you Noah would say yes.
Oh, awesome. Well, hopefully I can go on a taco reward with Keith, and we can have taco overload together.
Yes, that would be fantastic. I need to get you two on an episode together in the future some point. I want to see you two hash it out. So. Well,
I listened to a Keith podcast. And he said that he wasn't too fond of me.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about that Kass. I don't know about that Kass. She did some things that I don't agree with. And I was like, oh, wow. I didn't know Keith Nail didn't like people.
Wow.
But then he just commented in a group I'm in on Facebook, and we became friends on Facebook. We haven't actually talked, but yeah.
He doesn't know about you, Kass, so
maybe he doesn't know who I am, that we added each other on Facebook.
Yes, and then he's like, oh, hang on a minute, that's the wrong... Okay, I get it.
Oh, shit, I thought she was one of them Kellys. Oh, damn it. Where's my chew?
He just is a big spit. All right, Kass. We close out every recap with questions, tips. This is the last time we ask this one during the season, because on our recap for the finale, we will have some different questions. But you get, I suppose, the, quote, easiest set of questions, because we've only got one episode to go. So, Kass McQuillen, who is your tip to win Survivor Worlds Apart?
Well, I'm going to go with Mike.
Mike. All right. Who?
That's the popular choice, right?
That's the popular choice. What I'm going to do here, actually, we on our Oztopsy, we did a prediction where we ranked. We said what order we each think it would finish in. So who would go 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. So you've got Mike at 1st. My next question generally is who is the dark horse, and then who is the next to go. But instead of doing that, tell me what order do you think it will finish in? So Mike's finishing 1st. Who's going to go 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th?
Well, I think, let's see, Sierra probably goes next.
Okay.
And then, if Mike's in the driver's seat, but, okay, so if Carolyn and Mike can pull in Will, who I've already said I think is the easiest one to pull in at this point of Rodney and Sierra, right? Mm-hmm. So if those three stick together, they're going to get rid of Rodney and Sierra. Will's not going to flip back, especially because if they can get Will and then they vote out either Rodney or Sierra in 5th, Will has no choice but to go to the end with whoever wins immunity plus the other member of that alliance. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's... Whew. I think Will's in the final 3.
So Will's 3rd, Mike's 1st, Sierra's 5th.
I don't know. Maybe Rodney's 5th because he is a threat with the jury because people like him. So I'm going to say Rodney goes 5.
Okay.
Sierra goes 4. Mm-hmm. And then it's Mike, Carolyn, and Will.
Done.
I think they stick together because Mike continues to win immunity, so Carolyn's not going to burn that bridge. and she's going to end up in second. My God, what if she lost to Will? That would be awesome.
Well, hey, at least if it was a Will, Mike, Carolyn final three and Will somehow won, at least Mike and Carolyn are probably just about to get in a plane to go try and win it again. So,
and also, at this point, wouldn't it be cool to have like one from each of the original tribes?
Yeah.
Like blue collar, white collar, no collar?
Very much
and
so.
That's kind of the only way it's going to happen. Unless, I just don't see Rodney winning a challenge. I don't see Sierra winning a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And Sierra's edit is so nothing. She must go out fifth because that's a fifth place edit.
Yep, I agree.
Fourth is either Mike or Rodney.
Okay. I hope that Rodney's in that final tribal council, even if he doesn't get any votes, just to see how he reacts.
Well, he'll be there, and even if he's in the jury, he'll be like, "What about my birthday? It was my birthday!"
Could you imagine Rodney and Tony on a tribe together?
I could, and it would be glorious.
Best tribe ever. All right, now this one's probably an easy question, Kass. What? Obviously, we had white collar, no collar, blue collar at the start of this season. What tribe would you be on if you were playing on this season?
White collar.
White collar. And out of all the players this season, which player do you feel you are most similar to?
Jesus Christ. I guess Dan, huh? I don't think there's a player like me. I mean, on this season, and I don't. Yeah, I mean, the more I look at Survivor objectively, like, stepping away from my experience, I don't think there's a player like me on any season, really. In terms of, I mean, people would say Carolyn because she's older, but she hasn't been as explosive and rabble rousing as I was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I mean,
I could slightly see the Dan comparisons there, though, Kass.
Yeah, I mean, in the public perception, I will say Dan.
Yes.
Which Dan is making me look like a freaking psychologist, he's making me look great.
Yes. What did he say this episode? He sucks at life? I just love the way he just randomly says that in the challenge. I suck at life.
Yeah. Well, he sucks at a lot of stuff. I won't say life. I mean, that's kind of harsh. But, yeah, I mean, I think in the public perception, people would say Dan. But I would like to think I'm not like that. I never did anything like Dan has done.
You didn't wear manties out there at all, did you? Or
No, and I think this season makes me look great. These people, the way they're treating each other, really shows you how horrible people can be on Survivor.
Yeah. Well, there you go, Kass. That's that wraps up those questions, and that wraps about this episode up. And I can tell you now that look, in a few days' time, you might be out there on that plane. I'm not going to say might, sorry, you will be out there on that plane. So I am going to wish you the best of luck, not only for Wednesday night, but for season 31 in general. And we are going to look forward to getting you back on this show after 31 to talk about your win. And look, as I keep putting it out there to people on this season, Kass, you can always feel free to spend your $1 million to fly out here to Australia and do the interview in person if you so do wish.
I would love that because the finale would be in December, which is your summer.
It would be.
So, yeah, I'm all for vacations.
Come out and spend the summer here. Avoid the snow.
Yeah, our daughter has just started snorkeling, so Australia is definitely on the list.
We've got it up there. Go up the reef. That's sort of up in the region where they film season 2. So, look, there's... Is
Colby hanging out up there?
Look, you've got money. He never won. You could probably contact him. I don't know how Top Shot's going at the moment, so...
Is Top Shot still on?
I wouldn't have a clue. I will be honest, I've never watched an episode of it in my life, so I don't even know.
It's a really good show. I was a range master in the military, and I'm an expert riflewoman, so I really enjoyed that show for multiple reasons. Yeah. But I'm not sure it's still on, because I don't much like Kelly Wigglesworth, I actually live off the grid. I'm in my office doing this interview.
Right. On a Saturday night. Wow.
I know, and I drank a Foster's beer while I did it.
Well, I will say, if you do come to Australia, Kass, you won't drink Foster's here, because no Australians actually like Foster's beer.
No to Americans. I mean, I was just like, well, it'll get me in the mood for this.
I don't know why there's this perception out there that Australians love Foster's. I think it's
it's Australian for beer. It's a giant can, and that was their ad back in the day. Was Foster's Australian for beer.
And yet, if you go to a pub in Australia and go, "G'day, mate, I'll have a Foster's," you get kicked out. So
it's a pint, or it's more than a pint. It's 25.4 fluid ounces.
Right.
I only drink Foster's when I'm golfing because it's this giant can and it's easy to have in the golf cart and not have to have the lady comes around with drinks. She doesn't come around very often, so if you get one Foster's, it lasts you a couple holes.
There you go. And that it makes you always think about Australia, Kass, so we'll take that.
And when I applied for Survivor Australia, which I did, I actually had a can of Foster's and was wearing some sort of Crocodile Dundee outfit.
We all wear those here, Kass. I mean, I won't lie about that. We all just walk around with hats on and look like Mick Dundee. So
I was honestly looking for that video, which is actually on VHS. And I was going to try to convert it over and post it because it's hilarious.
I want to see it. I want to see it.
I mean, me applying 15 years ago.
You realise that would go completely viral. What you do is you find that if you convert it and you put it out on like the day you go out for season 31 so people can be like watching it while you're out there. So
I've been contemplating posting my own my application video how I got on, because a lot of people ask me how I got on, and I understand it's the property of CBS or whatever they claim, but they don't really respect me very much. And I thought about putting that on just because people are curious what people do to get on the show.
Yeah. We're still curious about that ad you did in China too, Kass. You know that.
Oh my God, me too.
Our Chinese listeners, please, somebody find it. We want to see it.
Meiguo Zachi, it's in southern China, Guangxi province.
It's out there somewhere. It's out there waiting to be found.
I'm on a billboard somewhere still, probably. I mean, it's...
They're voting for you in China then, probably. They're like, oh, Kass, we'll vote for her.
I've got the Chinese vote on lock, man.
Yes. They're voting like crazy. Kass, pleasure. Best of luck this week and for season 31. And it's always a lot of fun having you here on this show.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. You guys are able to vote, right?
We are, yes. I've been voting every day, so...
That's great. It's going to be very interesting how this plays out because... in the U.S., like on Wednesday night here when it airs, they didn't even air an ad for Second Chances, during this episode this week or after it. So I'm curious who is actually, of the casual viewership, going online, registering an account, and voting and remembering to. Or is it going to be really the true, super fans and the people who go online and rewatch a show and check user groups and whatnot.
In Australia, Kass, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'll just actually say they cut out the bit where Jeff announced it when they aired it here in Australia. I watched the American version, but I was told that when they aired it on Australia, they didn't show that part where Jeff's on the beach saying go and vote. So it hasn't been advertised at all here in Australia, except through us and other places that love Survivor. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is actually going to be a fan vote-in, not, I watched it at night and then I logged into my phone or my computer or my iPad or whatever. And who does that? I would never do that, and I'm a pretty good fan. I would never, prior to being on the show, after the show is off, I mean, I've got to put people to bed and get ready for work. I don't log on, and watch interactively to the point where I would go to a website. And I really think it's going to be the people who are campaigning online and doing these things that address people who truly care about the show. It's not just an entertainment for an hour on Wednesday night. It's kind of this weird Survivor lifestyle that some of us have.
Yeah, host these pointless podcasts and websites.
And I like it. I love this community. I mean, I love the people who love the show because it makes me feel more normal. And I don't want to make anyone who's part of the community feel worse about themselves because I'm part of it, but
I know exactly what you mean. It's one of those things in conversation where it comes up that I host a podcast, and particularly here in Australia where it's not really that much of a high rating show anymore, and people, oh, that show's still on? Oh, what do you actually talk about? Oh, you actually get the contestants on the show? Wow, how do you do that? I'm like, you send them a message and ask, and they say yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a part. When I met my husband, I wouldn't see him on Thursday nights. That's when it was airing at the time. You know, I was like, you can't come over and watch because you're not allowed to speak during it. And I don't want you knowing how freaky I get when I'm watching it.
Yep. My fiance did that the other day. I was watching it this week's episode, and she came in, I think, trying to talk to me about something, and I sort of looked at her, I'm like, you can't talk to me right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're part of that group that does not want to be spoken to, you know, it's a neat thing.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah. So go vote. What are there? 4 days left? 4 days. I know we're all going to LA pretty soon. I think Tuesday everyone's getting in.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting time. And
then
you're going to be on our screens again, no matter what, on Wednesday. Then. So.
Yeah, and then it's exciting to go to a finale.
Yeah.
Like, you know, how cool is that?
Yeah, very much so.
Sad for 12 people.
Now that's I've been saying that if you like the reaction faces, like you know when you're nominated for an Oscar or an Oscar and you don't win, and you got to do that sort of like smile and nod, like oh they were deserving to win. I want you to go off, Kass, if you don't get voted in. I want you to stand up and swear and throw stuff at Jeff and just go off your nuts.
No, I've got a better thing. I'm gonna have a bandana that says "Die Jerks" and just put it on.
Yes, just stand up there and do a Michelle revenge, baby.
Yeah, I mean, I've been, you know, they're not going to give you a lot of camera time. So if you had like in your bra a bandana that you could put on that just said "Die Jerks," I'll be back. You know, so
just flip them off, or get up on stage and do a Kanye West. Yo, Savage, I'm really happy for you. I'm going to let you finish. But Kass was the greatest villain of all time.
Yeah, I mean, the possibilities are endless. But how horrible is it going to be? Because there are some people who are on the bubble. Mm-hmm. You know, you look at the Jim Rices and you listen to these things, and people really think they're doing well in the polls. And maybe they are. They're just not polls I've seen. And they're absolutely convinced they're on. And you wonder, and even I have doubts. I mean, I read these articles saying I'm one of the people at the top, but I keep telling people I don't believe it. So just keep voting, because the minute you let up, it's just like the game of Survivor. The minute you think you're comfortable and you're not doing podcasts and you're not answering phone calls, is the minute you lose.
Yep.
That's the game of Survivor, and it's almost indicative with some of these front runners who aren't doing these podcasts and aren't gracing everyone with their presence. It shows me how confident they are going into the game. And I'm keeping an eye on who's campaigning and who really wants this. And the people who want it are the scariest people to play with.
Yep.
Because they have a singular mindset, and that's what it takes to win this game.
Completely agree with you.
And resting on your laurels is not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, yeah. I hope you guys enjoy Wednesday. I mean, I hope we get a good cast, and I think they will out of this. I think there's some sure things. I hope all the older school people get on. I really, really do.
Yep, I agree. And I'll tell you one thing, Kass, if for whatever strange reason you don't make it on, which we're not saying that happens, but feel free to come back on during season 31 and just rip shit into everybody about how you didn't get on. So, yeah.
If I were you, I'd be lining up the Bitter 12 right now to do all the recaps.
Hey, half of them haven't even probably agreed to come on the show right now, Kass, so...
You know, I mean... I was thinking about that. I was like, the podcasters need to lock these people in and make them the Bitter 12 and make it a bigger thing than the season.
The Bitter 12, hashtag Bitter 12. That works.
Yeah, and they could recap all the episodes, you know?
Yes. Oh, that would be classic, actually. No, I think there's definitely going to be that with a lot of us out there for season 31, that we're going to reach out to these people who didn't make it just to see if A, they'll agree to do it, and B, what the hell they're going to say about you guys out there.
Right, you could just have like season 31 shaming parties, like the second chance shamers who just go on and are like, I would have beat Kass, you know, she's so stupid, you know, I hate her, you know, and just say, I'm sure that some people who don't get on would be watching the season and saying, I could have done better. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the other horrible thing about it. It's really awful what they're doing to us. if I don't get on, I'll just be like, that's fine. America doesn't want me, or the public, whoever's voting. Great. It relieves me of needing to pursue this the rest of my life, like some of these poor people who've been through it many times have done.
Mm-hmm.
So,
one question, actually, the last question I will before I let you go. I should have asked you this halfway through. Given that, again, we're so confident you're going to be back on, Kass, that you will miss the Oscars, which is coming up. You are the reigning Best Villain champion. Who do you want to endorse from the last 2 seasons of Survivor, so Psalm 1, Del Sur, and Worlds Apart, as the newest Best Villain of the last 12 months? Who do you want to endorse for that crown?
I'm going to have to go with my boy Dan.
Your boy Dan?
I mean, he's pretty... Yeah, I mean, he's unlikable. Does that make you a villain? I don't know what the criteria are.
Well, look, we put it out there who's been the most villainous in the last 12 months, but I mean, God, Dawn made it that one year when everybody was hating her against Brenna. She's no villain, so our voters are drunk half the time, both of them, Kass, so...
Right. Well, given how your people vote and how stupid they are with the rankings, they're going to probably vote in Dan.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Dan.
Cool. All right, there you go. Dan officially endorsed. Kass, thank you, and best of luck, and we look forward to getting you back on December to talk about your win on Season 31.
Great. Thanks a lot, and enjoy Second Chances, and, be thinking of us this summer if I'm lucky enough to go. Just send some positive thoughts. It's not too far to send them. So, shoot me a nice thought and hope for some chaos in Cambodia.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Kass McQuillen, our Worlds Apart penultimate recapper, as well as Second Chance interview going on there. And we do very much look forward to seeing her probably out there in a few more days on our screen for the reunion, and no doubt filming season 31. We do have a couple more Second Chance interviewers coming your way in the coming days. We have 3 more lined up as of right now. Unless anything completely changes and somehow we get a few more, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So, Andrew Savage, Jim Rice, and Kelly Wentworth are going to be our final 3, it seems. So we'll just crack the halfway point and of Second Chance interviews as we get close to that announcement this week. But it's a very big week for Survivor fans, for Survivor Oz and everything else, because this week we will have the announcement of Season 31 cast, the winner of Season 30 going on, and... the Oscars start this week, folks. That's right. As soon as the winner is declared on Wednesday night, American time, Thursday afternoon, Australian time, we will be putting the link up for you to vote in the Oscars. So you will be able to vote for all the categories that you're used to. We've got one new category this year as well. So get out there, get excited. If you're sick of voting, don't get sick of voting right now, because, again, it's going to come down to the Oscars, and it's the biggest Survivor Awards of the year, and we are very excited to bring them back to you. Our finale recapper, if you didn't hear us talk about on the Oz Tops, will be our very good friend John Carroll. Now, John has been on the show the most, I think, out of all our Survivor guests, given that he did an entire season of commentaries with us. We love John to bits, and I, for one, personally think John was completely robbed of not being on the Second Chance season. I'm not just saying that because he's become a good friend of ours on the show. I do think he would have brought a lot to a Second Chance season, and John's not happy as well. John is not happy at all about being left on that list, and John isn't going to hold back at all on Wednesday night in terms of this season, and also what he will think of the Season 31 cast. So if you've got questions for John Carroll, get them in. It's always a long and entertaining chat with him, so stay tuned for that. Our finale, Oz Topsy, will be this week, and of course we will hopefully be bringing out commentaries this week as well too, so stay tuned for that. And Amazing Race fans, Amazing Race Oz, that will be up hopefully sometime this year. Apologies for delays of that recently. And SurvivorOz.com is where you can get all the information. Facebook us, tweet us, YouTube us, subscribe to us on iTunes. Easiest way to get the episodes and interviews direct to your devices. And remember, we always appreciate your support. We love you guys. Thank you very much. Even the negative comments, we do tolerate you. My name has been Ben, will be tomorrow, and probably in a couple of years' time. Thank you for tuning to Survivor Oz, and we will speak to you next time on The Trains.